I'm just getting this camera set up just about right the way I'm going to get it there. Let's see. So, people, I want to thank you again for showing up. If you're arriving, this is Tom, and this is the INFJ Experience. As long as I can get this whole thing just about right. Just give me a second. There's always a technical difficult with me, people. Always is. You got to bear with me there, people. Okay, how's that going to work, okay? How's that? How's that, huh? All right. Looks like we're in here. Is anybody out there? Just trying to see. Okay. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. This is, there we go. Okay. There. Well, people, how are you? This is, again, this is Tom from the INFJ Experience, and we are live again. And give me just a second so I can pull up the live broadcast on my device here, if I can. Right. And I'm pulling that right up. I think I do believe we're seeing it right here. Okay. I'll have to. Looks like we're already here. There we are. There we are. Okay. Whoa, turn off the sound. Now, hello, people. How are you? Yes, this is another live broadcast of the INFJ Experience, and I just want to really reach out. My goal here is to reach out to you, reach out to others, and trying to find people out there that are of like mind. Now, this channel is it is a reaching channel. We are hello there. Hi, Peace 25. Hi, how you doing? I know I'm surprising you again. Listen, these are unannounced Peace. I'm just I'm doing these lives. I'm trying to reach out. I'm trying to find people. I'm trying to reach out. We're trying to find introverted intuitives that need some kind of just a understanding of themselves. I'm trying to reach out. We need to find out who we are exactly. This is an outreach, but I want to thank you all for showing up and hanging out. I'm going to be here for a little while. Okay, as long as people are interested, I'd like to be here. Now, the channel is definitely growing. It's a growing channel, and I do enjoy this channel. And the more input I see, the more I see people joining in on this and coming into this fold. It's telling me that there's a need for that. It really is. And introverted intuitives, especially the INFJ personality type, my point is, people, I know from my own experience, when we are oblivious to our type, it is a painful and confusing journey in our life. And right up until pretty much when I found the MBTI type, and I stumbled across a video by chance or by fate, whatever it might be. I learned a lot about who I am based on the MBTI type, and it did help me out quite a bit. And it led me to starting this channel, people. I wouldn't have been here if I didn't discover the MBTI. Okay? So fate happens in strange ways, and God works in mysterious ways as well. I gotta be honest with you, people, too. Also, you might look at me and say, yeah, the guy likes to talk. This guy likes to be out there. He projects himself out there. I got to be honest with you, people. I don't do a lot of talking. I don't have a lot of friend groups. I work a job. I tend to get my paperwork, and I do a lone job. And I live alone. I have a very solitary life. I'm typically like that. I mean, I have that kind of almost reclusive personality. The most talking I really do is right here. The most communicating I do and the most interaction I have is right here. This is pretty much it. I want you to know that. And so this is my way of venting. This is my way of having some kind of a social life, I guess you could say. I know, pretty pathetic, huh? I wouldn't say pathetic. Maybe a lot of you are like that. This is typically the way introverted intuitives live their lives. Now, a lot of times I think too, I mean, we kind of prefer living that way. It's not that we prefer it, it's just by default. A lot of times, people think it's easy. You can find friends. You can just find somebody to hang out with. It isn't easy. It really isn't. Not healthy though. Oh, what's that? Okay, I'm reading some of your. You don't think it's healthy too? Yeah, it's sometimes it can cause a lot of stress. Not pathetic, brother. We do it a lot too. Marcus Gallo, hello. Oh, I don't think I've seen your name, Marcus. If you're new to this group, thank you. I just trying to see some familiar names here. I see a few new names out there. How you doing? Welcome to this show here. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say pathetic. I was being kind of a little bit off there. Okay, but I think a lot of times, yes, introverted, intuitive types, INFJs in particular, we need a certain vent. We need to know we're not alone out there, and it helped me out immensely. Just knowing that we're of like mind. I finally found a certain group out there. Okay. What you're saying, Tom? I'm alone for two cats, and sometimes I need space from them too. Oh, from your cats? Cats get a little bit much. Are cats draining to an? I thought it was usually the humankind that drained others. Yeah, I don't have any pets. I don't have any animals. I have a couple of plants, and I really need to change their dirt one of these days. You know, I think the dirt's getting a little bit old. Yes, but. Yes, but as far as that goes, the INFJ is a very they're a lone solitary type, and a lot of times we just need to know that there's others out there that we can commiserate with. I'm only kidding, talk with. Yes, exactly. But yes, but the INFJ personality type, introverted intuitives, as you know, it is good to. Oh, I'm trying to fix my. Good gosh, trying to fix my thing. See, live things are different. You can't just go back and re-record something, and when something goes off, re-record it. Everything's being done right there. You're right in there making all your mistakes. There we go. So, exactly. So we are, so like I said, this is a new format for me. I guess a lot of it is, people, I need practice. A lot of times I feel like I just plain need practice talking. I notice in myself, sometimes I hold a certain lecture or a talk, and I look at some of my videos, and I have to do a lot of editing because I do a lot of pauses. Sometimes I stutter. Sometimes I slur a word like I just did. And I'm like, am I out of practice? I need to talk a little more. Okay? This is probably the most talking I ever do is when I record these videos. I know I have so much more. I can be this way when I want to be, when I have to be. But sometimes the opportunity isn't always there. Now occasionally I might go to a pub on a Saturday, have a beer. I do like going to pubs, and usually there's people there, and it's a restaurant, it's a pub. I mean, I kind of stick to myself. I know some of the bartenders. It's like a Mexican restaurant. Great people. I get good vibes there. I do get good vibes from certain places, and I return. It has to be, I have to feel a good vibe in a place like that for me to want to keep going back. Now, these people, they're Spanish. Some of them are from Mexico. They speak Spanish. I know a little bit of Spanish, and they're actually amazed that I have a bit of a vocabulary in Spanish, and they're like, they talk, and I get some friends and stuff. But it's limited. So I have a little bit of that on Saturdays and Saturday afternoons, but even then I think to myself, I need to speak a little more. My older cats get clingy sometimes. Oh my gosh, yeah. So you got some clingy older cats. Okay. But anyway, yes, but we really do need these formats every so often. We just need to know that we're not alone here. Good gosh, why does my suit make me look so big? I look like Frankenstein over here, I just thought I'd throw the suit on, I look like I got these, So, yeah, so people, I'm also thinking about, I'm trying to think of different ways. I mean, I like this channel. It's growing. I'm trying to bolster it. Eventually, I'd like to think that, like I said, in in some years from now. Maybe it's my full-time job. Maybe I can do this as a living. But honestly, my goal right now is to just educate, reach out, and find that introverted intuitives don't have to live as painful, as a secluded life as we do. And that's one thing that happens a lot of times. Now, sometimes we prefer this. We get so used to it, so institutionalized in our lives. Sometimes I think we go through our lives trying to find things, change things, and then we just finally concede and say, this is it. This is who I am. It's by default. It's not a choice. You don't choose this life. It chooses you. Being an introvert, being not a recluse. I shouldn't say that. Some people do get very reclusive. I mean, I'd like to think just the fact that we're doing this doesn't makes us, at least we're reaching out. But it almost gets like an institutionalized mindset. And sometimes I feel like, is that all we get to? We find a level of comfort and a level of acceptance in who we are as introverts. And a lot of times I wonder to myself, do we do this because we have no choice? It's like we kind of have to. It's like you're on a deserted island and you're stranded there and you're alone. You know, kind of like that Castaway guy. All right, with Wilson and everything. We were talking about that yesterday, right? And say you have no escape, but you have to get comfortable with yourself. Like Robinson Crusoe, he had no choice. He was there 30 years, and he developed an elaborate system of how he lived. And I mean, he pretty much fine-tuned exactly how he had to live, but he had no choice. A lot of times, as introverts, we live in a world. We're not on a deserted island. We're amongst the human race. We're here amongst other people. But a lot of times we still feel isolated. We feel like in our heart, in our mind, we're on that deserted island. And with no escape, even though we have a world right at our disposal. We have connections. We have people in front of us. We interact with people. But still, we're alone. And it's just kind of do I ever push myself out of my comfort zone and go do different things? Good question. I told you, I try to go to pubs on Saturdays and things. Even though I'm kind of quiet, I do try to do that. I'll eat a burger or I'll eat some, enchiladas and things. I might have a beer or two. I do that. Sometimes I drive up to the Lake Winnipesaukee. I'm up here in New Hampshire. Not too much now. They're going to have a lot of ice fishing going on that lake now in the next couple of months. Yeah, of course I do. I try to do that. A lot of times I work. I'm trying to make this channel work. That's all. But yeah, I should do a little more often. But I used to go kayaking and hiking. Yes, that's good stuff. Agreed. No, but my point is yes, I mean, occasionally we can feel like that. We can feel so isolated in our own minds. We're almost like prisoners. We're almost like it's by default. And you can't talk to anybody because if you said that, it's like, well, just find a friend. It isn't that easy. It really isn't. Being that friendship, you have to have the right connections. Not just anybody. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to hang out with this guy. Or I'm going to hang out with this gal over here. I'm going to have this friend group. They have to have certain connections, people that do not drain you. They have to have some kind of a quality about them that you want to have an attraction to. You see? So bottom line is that's what we have to do. Now my knees are so bad I can't. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. You sound like you're having some issues there. I mean, you know what a lot of times is I feel my knees and things giving out. I have an arm that's very... I don't want to talk too much about that. I almost have no left arm anymore. And I'm still working a full-time job. And I'm having to work around certain things myself. I think that's part of our life is just having to. But a part of it is just getting older. Things start happening to us as we get older. But introverts, intuitives, especially certain INFJ types, it seems as though, how do you break out of the shell? You know, you want that connection. You want that extroverted feeling. You want to reach out. You want to help. You want to make a difference. But at the same time, it's like you kind of have to do it at a distance. You have to do it with a buffer zone, not only in your mind mentally, but just almost emotionally, socially. And so these channels, this channel here is a way of just saying you invite in, and we try to find the best in each other. Now, understanding your type, people, I can only stress this, and I say this quite a bit, is that when you finally understand, you have to really look to understand yourself. Now, as introverted intuitives, as INFJs, we tend to want to understand ourselves anyway. This is something that we try to do through our life because we have no choice, really. We have really no choice because we are so complicated in our mind. Our own mind complicates us. Our own mind can actually restrain us. In a way, we feel like we're, if we're oblivious to who we are and we haven't figured ourselves out through our lives, and I'm going to tell you, was most of my life. You feel as though you're locked in a cage, and you have a tormentor, your own mind, that's constantly, telling you you're no good. You don't add up. You're a miserable wretch. And if you believe these things, if you let your mind torment you, this is painful. This is very torturous. And a lot of times through our life, we do this to ourselves. And I know I did. Now, finding out who you are, understanding your mind, you have to make sure that eventually you can't listen to these things. You have to separate your thoughts. You have your thoughts that do this to you have to be basically ignored. You have to separate them. Meditation is the best thing for that. And a lot of times that's what we need to do is find our inner core. But a lot of times, you have to ignore these thoughts in your mind. This is the stage I'm getting to now. Maybe it's just an evolution of where my life is leading, but I'm trying to be very mindful of my own mind. Now, I have gotten comfortable in isolation and solitude. I feel as though it's something necessary. No longer do I shy from it. But also my mind is beginning to get a little more freer, where I don't feel like I'm tormenting myself anymore. So I think a lot of times that's what we need to do. Mel Gibson. Yeah. Is that Mel Gibson? Are you out there, Mr. Mel Gibson? Are you joining this chat? Or is somebody just putting that? What is that? Okay, you know what? This chat's going on out there. But yes, a lot of times people, that's what that's what a lot of times our minds do. Now these channels just open us up to that. You might hear this and say, "Oh my gosh, somebody else is like that." You might find out that these chats, these groups, we're all here. And I think we experience similar things. Being introverted, being in our own mind, can be if we're not controlling our mind, if we're not controlling these thoughts, it can be a torture chamber. We could be to the point of wanting to take our own lives. Maybe some of us have. Maybe some couldn't take it anymore. You hear about people taking their own lives, and I hate to think that it ever would get down to that. I'm sure. I can't speak for everybody. Thoughts have entered my mind a few times, but I was always to the point where I could never do that. Well, for one thing, my mom told me at a young age she was Catholic. She was Catholic-minded, and she put an idea in my head. She said, anybody that takes their own life and unalives themselves, they go straight to hell. Yeah, that's what my mom used to say. Yeah, there's no redemption. If you are cowardly and you take your life, you go right to hell, and that's it. So I was always like, well, I don't want that. I'd never want to go to hell. But I guess I'd rather live in the hell I'm in now. At least I got a life. I'll live in this mind and go through it and bear with it. But there's many times in our life it gets close. But a lot of times I hear INFJs is that we get close to that, we think about it, but we'll never actually do it. There's a strength in our mind, there's a certain moral code that just keeps us from doing that. We have to persevere. Now, not to say everyone's exclusive, but we're all different. We are all different here. Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay, talking about that. Talking about those the dangerous roads out there. But anyway, that's a lot of times the plight that we have as INFJs. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, if there's anything you'd like to add or anything, let me know if there's any questions. I'd like to think I could offer some kind of advice at some point. I'm at an age now. I'm not a perfect guy. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor, but I do have certain life experiences that I think I could shed a little bit on. But that's another reason why I'm here, is for that reason. But if you do, that's fine. But I'm just gonna talk to you here. But yeah, it's a lot of times it's about freeing our mind and making sure that we don't have to live like that. We don't have to have our mind be our own tormentor. Okay, our mind should be a level of it should be our sanctuary. It should be our peace. It should be a place of refuge. It should that be that place of solace. And a lot of times I think it can be. I mean, because it's almost by default. That's really the only place we have, because you turn to people, we're drained, we go to solitude, we go to our isolation. But sometimes our isolation is actually unbearably lonely as well. Well, that loneliness, that solitude has to be your biggest refuge. But something has to help occupy there. I mean, your spirit has to be just somehow enlightened a little bit too, where you feel like you're comfortable in your own mind. Yeah, you do reach that level eventually, people. But I think it's not an easy path, because it almost like you have to go through hell to get to heaven, as the old saying goes. You have to go through the weeds before you can find the garden. Or I don't know. I don't know if that's an actual saying or not. But all right. Oh, oh, peace. Yeah, peace. I can tell. Peace in the valley. Yeah, I can tell you. We all have a lot of turmoil, and you know what? Sometimes I think we need to know that. I think we go through a lot of bouts like that. Okay, and sometimes it feels like that. And but this is something I want to touch on a lot of times, is sometimes our depression. Sometimes, hear me out, people. I think that even Carl Jung said that we have a certain awakening in our life. And if you read the works of Carl Jung, that magnificent, very gifted psychologist, who was far more advanced than Sigmund Freud ever could have been. Now, he was very much into the psyche of the introvert. He was the one that divulged deep into the introvert mind. Now, I believe he was an introverted intuitive. I heard rumors he may have been the INFJ personality. He was definitely that, but he divulged into the psyche, and he looked a lot into that personality. But he did say that there were stages of the INFJ, the introvert, especially, that, yeah, they reached the stages, and the awakening was an inevitable phase. Now, there's a lot of times we have the door knocked to our psyche, and we're ready for our awakening, and it could happen at many different levels of your maturity. You have to have a mature mind. It could happen when you're in your 50s or 40s or 30s. It depends on what level you are able to withstand it. But this knock on the door is not just a, hey, we're going to enter in. This knock on the door could be a subtle bout of vapid depression. You see, what happens is you have an initiation. Now, there is an initiation, like when you have to join a fraternity in college, or a frat house, or a sorority. You know how they put you through an initiation. And usually you have to do crazy things. You have to do things that are painful or awkward or embarrassing. Same thing with the Marine Corps. You need a certain initiation in order to get accepted into things, right? And so I'm just checking some of your comments here, people. So, but bottom line is, yeah, now your initiation into your awakening, your initiation into your enlightened, awakened self is not an easy path. There is an initiation process, and it's painful. And it's that vapid, dark. It's called the dark night of the soul. It's called many things. Basically, it's monk mode, or it's isolation mode, bunker zone, whatever it is. Maybe monastery zone. I mean, monasteries do this. Monks in monasteries go through these modes, and this is why they go there. These Buddhist monks spend many years fasting or going into isolation in these monasteries, and they purposely stay alone so they can reflect inward, so they can gain this strength. Introverted intuitives, people, we are just instinctively built this way. It's like we have this code. Now, a lot of times, this knock on the door is not just an invite. It is a wave of what may seem like depression or emptiness or deep sadness. A lot of times we mistake this for pain. And the way we are collectively, our collective consciousness, as Carl Jung said, the collective conscious is the mass. It's the consciousness. It's the conditioning of the masses, basically, on how to think. And the collective consciousness of our world, of our country, whatever you might say, is the fact that when you feel pain, when you feel depression, you feel that angst, you don't feel good, you are to take that away, distract it, either by chemicals, by antidepressants, maybe by taking a trip, by having an external stimulation to take that away. And that's the collective consciousness how to handle that. Now, a lot of times it just has to be endured. A lot of times this is the knock on the door. Like a lot of times we feel as though we may be going through bouts of vapid depression. We may feel these bouts of isolation or emptiness, and we may feel sad. And these tears may flow. And a lot of times, as painful as it is, it feels as though you're getting worse before you get better. These are your forging moments. These are the doors knocking. This is part of your awakening, is to go through this initiation, as I said before. It's the initiation of your soul, people. And a lot of times that's part of what our journey is. Again, you could go back to the moments of nature. And I've said this before, I mean, everything that you see, if you look at animal nature, if you look at some of the harsh stresses that animals go through, I mean, animals don't have shelters. You look at some of the way deer and the way they forage through winter. I mean, they don't hibernate. They can't build. They don't have hands to build. They just endure. They may find, they might find shelter in under a tree, a pine tree, and they huddle down just where there's no snow there, and they clear a spot out. But they're in the severe cold. They just find ways of just blocking some of the wind. And sometimes these pregnant, does go through the winter pregnant, so that they can give birth in the springtime. It seems backwards. But a lot of times you look at the stresses and the adornment of just animals itself, not to mention that they could die of starvation or they could die of like predators, but then they have the harshness of the stresses of the winter, being that it's winter out there. Now, a lot of times, I mean, there's so many examples where survival, especially in the animal kingdom, as brutal as it is, it's a very brutal existence when you look at it from afar. We're supposed to learn these things. We're supposed to somehow use these examples as a reflection on how our soul survives. Because I think we are a spiritual, psychological manifestation of what nature, of what science, of what everything is around us, about our environments, but in a spiritual level. So these stresses that we take, the same way that, you watch these animals endure, and how they have to protect themselves, how they have to endure themselves in the wild, is how we do it in a psychological, spiritual way, and how we develop our spirit, how we strengthen our souls in that way. Okay? I'm convinced of that. Then this is the way it is interpreted to me in a lot of ways. So get some black coffee in that can right there. I did have a nice cup of black coffee. So yes, deer are put in situations where they end up eating things that they don't like just to survive. Absolutely, yeah, like bark and things like that. Or yeah, exactly. Yes, individualization is the key word, but it's not for everyone. INFJTs from Iraq here. Iraq, okay. Whoa. Wow, somebody from Pakistan was here from the other day. It's nice to know we're having a lot of global. This is amazing how this is worldwide. How this transmission can go around the world. I couldn't have believed this 40 years ago I could do this. You see, just from my phone. Sounds like you need a good koosh. What is a koosh? Okay. Somebody, what is a koosh? That a pillow or something? Yes, hell level 1, heaven is yes, okay. Funny thing. Funny thing, I was just going to ask you if we're drinking. I love my coffee too. Oh, you were going to ask me what I was drinking. Oh, and I told you. I just drink black coffee. I mean, I don't have anything special, just get a can. But I do brew my own. I usually don't go to Dunkin' Donuts. I like to brew my coffee, but it has to be black. And then sometimes during the warmer weather, I got to have it chilled. I just put it in the fridge. I drink it chilled. During the winter weathers, I like to have hot coffee. Love my hot coffee. Yes, exactly. Well, it's good to know we're all drinking coffee or something like that. But bottom line is, people, yes, that's why I'm starting these live broadcasts, especially. Is I think that my message spontaneously I know about spontaneously. Usually, sometimes when I just talk and I get warmed up, things flow. I like to think. I've been noticing that too. When I have these lives, I feel a little less inhibited when I'm trying to record something. When I'm trying to like put down a recording, I feel like I have to be rehearsed, and I'm watching my uhs and my da-da-da-das, my stutters, and sometimes I do that when I start recording things because I got this thing in my head, and then I end up cutting up my video. I start chopping up little bits in that, and then it just doesn't sound as appealing. So I figure I just let it flow. You know, this is a live thing. This is how I talk. If we were hanging out and we were all just chatting and you had, I would probably just say what I'm saying now. So, but bottom line is, people, yes, that's part of our awakening. So if anybody heard that, it is the initiation of the soul. Basically, God, the kingdom of heaven, as our Savior had said, is it's an exclusive club. Okay, and just like that fraternity, we have to go through these crazy initiations in order to get in there, or the sororities to get in there, and just to be yourself, Tom. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. Peace. That's what I'm trying to do. But sometimes I feel like I'm not myself, and that's occasionally I feel like I'm trying too hard to rehearse myself. So I'm trying to be a little more outgoing here. We're just a little more at ease. But yeah, we need that initiation to be, and we have to know that our collective consciousness, like I said, we don't run from these things. As the society tells us, when you feel down, you feel depressed, here, take an antidepressant. This is the knock on your door. People, it isn't just exclusive to introverted intuitives. We're all supposed to face these things as human beings. We are supposed to face certain hardships in our soul, in our spirit. But we're as a collective society, we run from this. We're told to escape this. We should never feel bad. We should never feel any kind of spiritual depression, any kind of angst in our heart. We need to run from it. But that is the collective. And I think a lot of times is that society sets up a certain way in order to kind of keep, they want people. I mean, as a society, as evil as it may sound, a lot of times governments, okay, I'm going to get kind of a little bit out there, people. A lot of times I think we have certain rulers in power, educators, things like that. They know that there's a certain way of making sure if they make people malleable, if they keep people in a malleable way, then they can control them. They can guide them where they want. And they can keep a society going, and they can steer it a certain way, in a way. Now, in order to keep somebody not malleable, is that they have to face themselves. They have to be independent in our minds. Our minds have to be independent and be free thinkers. INFJs, we are that way. Basically, introverted, intuitives, we are free thinkers because we're in our head thinking. And a lot of times, what are we? Hyper independent. It's just in our character to be this way. We kind of have no choice to be. That's just, we had all, this is all we have to depend on and rely on is ourselves to begin with. But a lot of times, like I said, back to the point is, as a collective, as a culture, I think a lot of times by steering people and just saying that when you keep people a little more subdued, a little more in their comfort zone, in their their escape zone, they're more malleable because they can't face the hardships that they should be. Now they want to keep escaping back into that comfort zone in which was basically manufactured by or just encouraged by the mass, by the collective. Okay, I said I just said a mouthful, people. I really did. I just said a lot. But that's bottom line what this channel is. But back to the fundamentals. Yeah, this channel is all about understanding our mind, understanding basically introverts, intuitives, just not to have as just to have a better understanding of why things are happening. Okay, when you find yourself in a bout of confusion or depression, why it's happening, and just know that it's not always because our life is as miserable as it is. This could be your knock. This could be your invitation into the changing of your awakening. But a lot of times when we see these signals into the awakening, as I've said before, our first instinct is to kill that pain, is to run from it, is to say it's there's something wrong with me for feeling it. Now, of course, there is grief. Gosh, if you lost a loved one, if something happens, there's certain things in our life. There are hardships. There is bad luck where we have to face things. But then you have to ask yourself, is this kind of what's prompting us to steer into it? Is this kind of giving us no choice but to face ourselves? Either way, I mean, a lot of times this grief, these initiations have to come forward in our life in order for us to grow ultimately. So, but funny thing, I was just going to ask. Okay, just be yourself. Okay, yep, I got that. Yes, yes. Peace. It's always good to see you out there. I tell you, you know what? You really make my day because you're like one of the you're like one of the originals. I think you've been there at a very. I think you've been there almost 5 or 6 months since I've started this channel. Oh, good gosh. All right, please. Oh my gosh, technical difficulties. Please stand by, people. All right, you know what? Oh, hello, people. It was just a simple button that was on the back of my. I hope you hear me now. I hope I didn't lose everybody. Okay. Yes. Okay. I think I'm back. Am I? I hope I am. Yes, it's showing that I got my sound back. I do apologize, people. I usually have a technical difficulty. I'm holding my phone now, and I just got the. I just got the. I had to reverse the. I had to reverse it. I must have hit the pause or the mute button on the back, but sounds back. Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm glad you stuck with me, people. I'm glad you didn't abandon me. I guess that's the mark of a true friend, right there. The ones that stick around even when things aren't going quite right. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, people. I'm going to hold the mic. I'm just going to hold on to this. I unplugged the other mic. I probably could plug it back in. Now I realize what I did wrong there. Yes. But bottom line is, yeah, that's part of our journey is to just is to know when those indications, just to know when we're being summoned. And like I said, being summoned is not just a hey, you are being summoned. It's not like this big spiritually white, you know, somebody that's all inviting comes in. No, it's usually it comes in, like I said, as a kind of a deep emptiness in ourself. It comes in as a vapidness in our heart. As crazy as that may sound, and it's usually silent too. You feel as though you've been abandoned in some ways. And now I'm going to tell you my experience as the dark night of the soul, people. And a lot of times it's you're not sure where you're going. You almost feel as though you're on this. The only way to describe it, you're on an ocean. And I've used this analogy before. And you are basically just trying to survive on a raft in the middle of an ocean with just enough water, just enough food, just enough perishables in your life in order to survive. And you could be afloat, you could be chilly, but you have just enough shelter to keep you at least warm enough. You have just enough food to keep you surviving, enough water just to keep you quenched. And you could be on this ocean without direction, without a paddle, with nothing in sight all around you. Just a sea that's choppy, that's stormy, that's a little bit damp, a little bit cold, but not cold enough to freeze you and kill you, but enough to where you are at least feeling as though you're just isolated and you have nothing. Now, this could go on for as long as it may take, as long as you can endure. And a lot of times, this vapidness in your heart, it can be very depressing. It can be very painful in your heart. But this is a forging thing. Same thing as those, like I said, you look at nature, you look at the way trees and things shed their leaves and they go into a state of almost hibernation. They shed their leaves, that the sap runs out of their trunks, out of their branches, and they suspend. But they're also withstanding the bitter cold and the harshness of the storms as sense. But they survive, but they're forging, and they're also getting stronger as they are. Now, some of these trees fall. Yeah, they fall and they may crack, they die, and some of them don't survive. Not everything can endure this, and some do not endure. But if you do endure it, it becomes stronger. It only strengthens you if you can endure these kind of things. But eventually, springtime rolls around for these trees. Eventually, life starts coming back to them. Their their trunks back into their branches, and they start bringing forth green vegetation. The leaves start growing on there, and they go through another season, a growth season. And the ones that survived, the ones that lived through this and survived it, are better now, and they have a better, more established root system. And their trees and their trunks are that much more resilient, bigger, stronger because they survived this. This is our soul, people. I said nature is a reflective guide into what our soul manifests. So these same things have to be applied to our plight, our journey into the basically the that vapid sea, the dark night of the soul. Now, eventually, it will lead you to a state of peace. It will lead you eventually to that. Let's just say if you're on that ocean, like I said, floating out there, and you have no direction, no rudder, no compass. Eventually, you might wake up someday and you just see out in the horizon. You might see a speck of land. Okay, and this all of a sudden it's not so stormy anymore. The sun's out. It's a little warmer now. And then, maybe you start paddling toward it. Maybe you start drifting toward it. But all of a sudden you find it and you start smelling flowers in the air. You start smelling like something. You start hearing things. You hear the wave crashing on a beach that you never did because now you're hearing it crashing on dry land. And eventually you find this sanctuary. You find this paradise island in your own self. Now, this is metaphoric, people. I'm only using this as a kind of a way of describing how it is metaphorically, but eventually you go through this dark soul. You do go through this and you are awakened. This is the stage Carl Jung said, is that he talked about this awakening. Now, I've said this before just on my own, and of course I've watched YouTube videos, of course. And there was one video, there's one channel that talks about Carl Jung, and it's all about his philosophy and his teachings. And he talked about these awakenings. And the way I interpreted it was almost word for word, like how Carl Jung was describing and how they were described in the videos without me even seeing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the awakening. That's the stage that we take as human beings, especially as intuitives. Now, being introverted intuitives, we seem to have a heightened awareness of this kind of thing, this awakening, this soul, because we're so into our own, because we're introverted and we're intuitive and we're in our mind and we're basically living from the inside out. We have this heightened awareness of our consciousness, of our soul, of our psyche. And that's one of the things that differentiates us from a lot of the sensing types, is because we have that heightened awareness about us. Whether or not it's an advantage or a disadvantage, people, and a lot of times it seems as though we go through a sensing physical disadvantage in the world because we're so isolated because of that. But on a spiritual, on a deeper look into the other dimension, whatever you want to say it, our conscious dimension, our spiritual dimension, it's almost like we have a heightened advantage into that, in a sense. It's like where we live completely backwards. But while the world may see us as loners, as drifters, as isolated, as these people that always need alone time, they may see us as that way, as if we have that disadvantage as the world sees it. But our advantage is in that world, is in that world. And I know y'all understand what I'm saying because that's why we live. But people, I can only, if you've gone through this, well done. I have a hungry shark around. Oh, okay. Yes, yes, we're back. But yeah, bottom line is, people, that's part of our journey. And all I can do is encourage you. If you are going through this, if a lot of times maybe you feel depressed, maybe you're feeling this in your life as an introvert, maybe you're suffering, maybe you're going through these bouts in your life, understand that you're being summoned in a sense. A lot of times this isolation or this vapid heart that you're feeling, and you may feel as though you're getting worse, like your isolation is getting more painful. It could be your initiation is beginning to your awakening. That's the only way to describe this, people. And see, this is the reason why I'm doing these lives right now, because things are just flowing out of me. I mean, I just am able to talk and speak my mind better like this. And I'm just encouraging people that it is for real. And if you've ever questioned whether or not you're on the right path, and I did, and I think we do, we're wondering, am I on the right path? I feel like I'm getting worse. This is getting more painful. The tears may flow every night. You may feel like you're getting more depressed, more sad, more isolated, more vapid. But people, this is your forging test, and it is your initiation. All I can say is you have to stay with this. You stay on this journey, and you stay on this path, and eventually, like I said, you're on that raft floating in the middle of the ocean. Eventually, you start smelling those flowers, and you see that land, and you paddle toward it, and all of a sudden, you're at peace. Somehow, something has been lifted off you. That that empty void that you had in your heart, in your spirit. Most of our life, we're always looking because we have an empty void in our hearts. We have that emptiness in our heart, and at one some point in our life, it becomes a fulfillment. After you've gone through this journey, as I've said before, this forging journey that you take, when your initiation is done, when God has tested your soul enough, he'll know when you had enough. And all of a sudden it's like you're granted this this right to the kingdom in a sense. And a lot of times, like I said, monks go into monasteries, or Buddhist monks go into monasteries exclusively to find this. That these are built for this kind of thing. And being that we are the introverted intuitives, we do this almost as just on our own. We a lot of times we find this just by default because of our personality. And this is just something that we do. And but it's all part of our awakening, people. It's the next stage. It's like your final stage, and then you evolve into your basically like your glorified state, like the way a butterfly emerges, like the way um, it's like the final stage. It's like the apex stage of any animal that you might see. I mean, usually animals, even especially the insect. I always use the butterfly analogy. Okay, butterflies go through stages. They start off as eggs, then they hatch into these little caterpillars, these larvae, and then they go through that indulgent stage and they eat. Okay, monarch butterflies eat the milkweed, and they eat the milkweed, and they fatten up. Okay, and then there's a code in their system. There's a certain code that just says, okay, it's time. So they find a branch and they hang upside down, and then they shed that white and that yellow black skin. It's amazing. I've done this with my son back years ago. And then they shed that skin. Then they hang there and it's green, and they go into that chrysalis. It's almost like they just harden into a shell. Just like it's almost unbelievable. They just harden into that shell, and then it's that green kind of chrysalis, and they hang there. And then about maybe 2, 3 weeks later, maybe a month later, it starts turning black and yellow again. And then just one day that it just kind of bursts open. And out comes this butterfly. And then it kind of sits on it and it kind of dries, kind of sits there for a bit, stretches its wings and starts flapping its wings, and then it takes off. Now, again, that's a manifestation. We have a spiritual um, manifestation as human beings, as being that we're the most developed species on the planet. These reflections of nature are manifestations of our soul. And that's one of the best analogies I can come up with. And I have used that before. I go back to that because I can't really think of a better analogy other than that. You know what I mean? So people, I mean, I'm just here to tell you, maybe you stumbled across this, maybe you're going through this, and all I can say is stay healthy as much as you can. If a lot of times this journey, it can be stressful. It can be taxing on your physical body. You might lose weight. You might make sure you drink your water. You got to make sure you eat well. You might be depressed. You might be going through this, but understand that this is your chrysalis. This is your moment. You're going to eventually break out of it. Now, all I can tell you, people, is that when you get to the other side, um, you just it's like you have an heightened awareness of consciousness. Your consciousness definitely does develop higher. You feel as though you've had an awakening in a sense. You really do. Like you just feel like you've reached a new stage, and a lot of flashes of insight, flashes of wisdom, flashes of creation, flashes of just understanding. Like I said, understanding that the physical world is represents what's in your consciousness, and that what I just said, these things start coming to you. A level of wisdom and understanding is heightened, and then all you could do is say that it's basically you're closer to God, you're closer to the Creator now, because we were designed by the Creator to basically mirror Him. We're like I said, we're in the image of God, and He's given us the ability to understand His mind, to understand just basically how He created the universe. Let me understand you the psyche of. I mean, if you believe in God, if we're spiritual, and we have to know that something created this universe, this will intensify your faith. Your faith somehow becomes heightened because now you start seeing it. It starts being revealed to you. And they talk about the mystery of what faith is. Now, faith necessarily, it's a belief that you believe in God. Somehow you've found faith, and you've all of a sudden understand who God is because you've somehow been exposed to his teachings in a way. But the mystery of faith is that when you finally cross that threshold that I talk about, and you finally find peace, and you have a heightened level of consciousness, when you've transformed into that apex of your being, that your sigma self, your completed self in a sense that you were designed to find, your consciousness intensifies. But your awareness of a creator, of something deeper than you, intensifies as well. You start understanding, oh my gosh, that's what faith was. You don't actually see God, but you start understanding. The words that you hear in your mind start getting silent, but you just have knowings. Like you just have like flashes of just understandings without words. And you have to all you can do is chalk that up to a matter of just knowing that it's your creator, it's your ultimate father, it's your ultimate guide that created the universe, is your reflection. Now, God ultimately, we're the reflection of God. We are the mirror image of God, as we've said. And God created us in His image, as it's written in Genesis. All right. Excuse me, just a second, people. Gotta have a little sip of coffee here. So basically, yes, we're a reflection of God. God created the universe, and He created man in His image. Okay, and He did this because basically it was a relationship. Now God was in this vast universe for who knows eons. He could have been in this universe. Just God was. Just God. He had an existence, but He just was. But he probably got lonely in this universe. It's the same way we get lonely. Same way INFJs have this vapid feeling within our heart. We have that vapid feeling. God had this. And it could have been for eons. And He decided to make the heavens and the earth, as it's been written. But He decided to put something. He decided to say, I'm going to create a hybrid. There's animals on the ground. They don't have a spirit, but I'm going to create man, a human, in our image. Okay. And he gave us a fleshly animal body with hungers and drives and, and, and things like that. We have all the drives of animals, but we have this hybrid spirit that was breathed into us of God. So He gave us the ability to, make decisions, make choices. I mean, He put us in the Garden of Eden. We know this story. I mean, a lot of these biblical stories seem a little bit fableish, but there's deeper meaning to some of these things. But bottom line is that He basically created us as a way of having company. I mean, He just needed something to be God for. He had that purpose. Just as we crave purpose, God needed purpose. He needed something to be God for. Excuse me. All right. So basically, that's what happened. I mean, He created us in His image in order to have purpose, have some kind of camaraderie, have a relationship. Now, it's up to us to find this level of consciousness, just to be in touch with, reflect back to Him, His majesty. He'll give us the mind of God. He's given us His mind. He's given us the ability to physically manifest and see His creation. I mean, whether or not we think it's the Big Bang, but we have the ability to see the galaxies, the entire entirety of his the masses of galaxies, of our own universe, of our own solar system, of our own world, of our own just our own, basically our own world around us, what we see in everything. But he's given us the ability just to basically see how he did it. I mean, kind of like a father. A father wants nothing more than to teach his children everything he knows. Doesn't you're a father, you're a parent, and you want to teach your children or give them everything. Just let them know everything that you know, and you want them to grow up as just like you, or better than you even. So you want to give them everything. So you want to teach them all you know. Well, God's the same way. I mean, He teaches us everything He knew. He's given us His mind, but we have to know the difference that it's not what we created. We're just reflecting back His majesty. We're just seeing it and saying, being almost awe-inspired on how deep it is. Everything that He did, His majesty, His creation, His universe, His world that He put us in. And just the fact that we have a consciousness that He gave us. And that's basically it. He just wants us to acknowledge, reflect back who He was. That's worship. That's how you worship God. Now, a lot of times, organized religion is you go to church and you sing choirs and things. I mean, that might get you there. It might give you a sense, but that is a that's an external kind of an extroverted feeling. You feel the choirs and the singing and the the power of the congregation. It can give you a certain feeling, but it's a very extroverted feeling. I think that's kind of extroverted. You want to have this kind of experience internally. And when you feel that internally, and it's an individual thing, it's completely yours and yours only. Uh, I mean, I think that's a true relationship right there. Is He wants you to experience it on an individual level as well, just to be in touch with that soul, with that whole spirit. Okay, I know I got a little okay, people. I got a little rambling on, but bottom line, people, this is the message I like to think that I have. This is what I have to offer. This is what I need to tell you. That there is that deeper side, but the thing is to find this a lot of times is, like I said, we have to go through that initiation of our soul. We have to go through our initiation of God in order to find that. And that dark night of the soul that I told you, that vapid ocean we have to cross, that monk mode, isolation mode, monastery mode, you have to kind of go through that journey, and you have to let yourself go through it. So if you are going through this, people, persevere. All I can say is you're on the right path, and just stay healthy, please. Just that's all I can say. If you are going through that, yeah, you just have to keep an eye on yourself. Keep an eye on um your just how you are, how your health is during this journey that you're on. But it is there. Okay. Now that's why I go live, is because I can't rehearse that kind of thing. People, I couldn't. I've tried so many times to record a video similar to that, and it always seems too spontaneous. That's why I try to do this in such a way where I'm just let it flow out. I just try to. I think my message goes well that way. Okay. All right. So how's everybody doing? Is everybody still out there? Okay. How's everybody? One thing I've noticed is the progression of self-identification cumulates is that we start as ghost and then we evolve into identity so solid it might be considered a singulatory. Oh my gosh, you people are so deep out there. you know, see, this is why I love this stuff. I mean, I read your comments and I'm like, my gosh, everybody, see, I'm speaking deep right here, but we're all like this. We all have our own version of this. My gosh, whatever you just said was yeah, Yukon Cornelius the Third. You mean that guy from? Oh my gosh, that was from that Christmas movie. I know what you're talking about. Yukon Cornelius. He was from that Santa Claus is Coming to Town movie, one of those clay animation movies. Is that what you're talking about? Is that who I look like? Is I don't know where that came from. Yeah, some people say I look like the Red Dead Revolver guy. Somebody was saying I look like I know I have a certain look about me, don't we? Especially with this beard. Yeah. You see, I'm still here listening and oh, okay. All right, good. I'm just looking up. I got into a kind of a tirade there. Now I like to check some of your comments. I don't want to forget who we're talking to, okay? I'm kind of holding my phone here and I'm also trying to, all right. I'm just reading some of your comments, okay? But bottom line is, yeah, that's I feel as though I can let things like that flow. When I just and ad libbed and when I'm live, I just like things like that to flow out of me. And that was a good one. I'm like, that's kind of what the message. That's what I want to project out. It's things like that. Occasionally, I get just a little emotional. I feel like I'm right on the verge of losing it, and I got to pull myself back. Let me have a, people. I'm still a sensitive man. I mean, a lot of times, I know I have a certain look about me, but inside, yeah, I still have that sensitive heart. I really do. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here. Okay. But bottom line is, yeah, people, you have to endure that dark night of the soul in order to find that extra level of consciousness. Bottom line. Okay. Does anybody have any? Oh, okay, Grizzly Adams. That's what you look like. Oh, Grizzly Adams. Well, yeah, with the beard, I guess so, huh? Well, I need my. Where's Ben? Huh? That big old gentle giant grizzly bear. Remember him from Grizzly Adams? If you don't remember that, people, Grizzly Adams was that show from the 70s. I think it was Dan Haggerty. And yeah, he had a beard like mine. He kind of looked like mine, but he was a real kind of a gentle guy. And he had a grizzly bear, Ben, and he was just this big grizzly bear, but he was as gentle as a kitten. He was just this real tame. Wouldn't hurt a fly. Big grizzly bear, but he protected Dan. Yeah, when he had to. He was yeah. He always stuck up for Dan. He always protected him. So it was a good show. Gosh, I was a kid. Yeah, Peace, you're kind of bringing up memories about Grizzly Adams. Yeah, I mean, if we grew up in the same era, the same kind of era, I think a lot of us are around the same age. A lot of us were Gen Xers. I'm sure we grew up around the same time. We probably watched some of the same TV programs growing up and things like that. So, but yeah. But anyway, people. So I'm glad to see a lot of you people are showing up. I got a few of you watching out there. I wonder if Grizzly Adams was an INFJ. Well, he had a very kind soul. If you remember, the story was is that he was kind of an I think he had a warrant or a bounty out for him. They accused him of a crime he didn't commit, and he ran out to the mountains to escape just so he could live out his life. I think that's what it was. And but it was something he was framed for or something he didn't do. And so he was basically a fugitive out in the mountains. I think that's what it was. And I could be wrong, but I think it was something like that. But he had to live his life out in exile, pretty much. Yeah. And he talked about being in solitude. Although he did have a couple friends. Who was that guy with the mule? Get over here, number 7. Remember that guy? Denver Pyle. Yeah, you old stubborn mule. He'd always bark at his mule. Remember that? Grizzly Adams. And then he had a friend that there was what was the name of his? He had like an Indian, Native American Indian friend as well. I can't remember. It was I can't remember. Yeah, it was something like that. Maybe somebody knows the name of that. Maybe Peace. What was his friend's name? The Indian guy, the Native American Indian guy. I can't remember. Yeah. Okay, I'm kind of small talking here a little bit. That's okay. Sometimes we got to just talk a little bit about things like that we're all interested in. Hey, we all grew up at the same time. We're all kids around the same time, right? I love watching Grizzly Adams. Yeah, yeah. It took me a while. Oh yeah, I remember it. I must have been 9 or 10 years old watching Grizzly Adams. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that and Kung Fu. There were a lot of shows back then that were much better than TV nowadays. I mean, at least they had lessons and things like that to them. So, but bottom line is, people, to get back to what we are, we're all INFJs, introverted intuitives, and yes, a lot of times through our life, we have so many learning moments in our life, so many forging moments. It's like stages of our life. But all I can say is the older you get as an INFJ, it's like we get better as we grow older. At least I think we do. I had a traumatic brain injury 3 years ago, so my memories wasn't like it was. Oh, yeah, that was your car accident. Was that the one? Yeah. Um, yeah, I used to, I used to be in the tire business. I had a tire like actually zipper on me. I was actually knocked out by the concussion of a tire, and I was knocked out. No, not by the blast. It blew inward. It zippered. It just ruptured. So, but basically the just the concussion of it knocked me out. And when I woke up, I had no memory for about 5, 10 minutes. I had amnesia. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was. I remember asking, like a mechanic just said, "Hey, are you all right?" And I said, I looked around, I saw a snowbank in the parking lot. And I said, "What month is this?" I mean, literally, I asked what month it was. But one of the scariest things is eventually my memory started coming back, kind of like when you turn on a computer and all the window icons start coming up. And they coming up. It's almost like memories started coming up, like little windows on a computer. And all of a sudden I said, "Oh my gosh, I have a son at home. I'm married. I have a wife. I got a family at home." And it horrified me because all of a sudden I started remembering I had a family at home. I never forgot that. I ended up calling up my wife just to tell her what happened. This was back when I was still married, of course. I'm not married anymore, but at that time I was horrified. I forgot my own family. Yeah. So I know brain injuries can definitely do a lot to your mind. And this was just a concussion I had. So, but sometimes I wonder how many, if I ever forgot things, if I forgot things for 10 minutes and forgot everything, did all my little windows come back, or was some of my memories lost permanently? I don't know. I really don't know. I'll never know that. Yes. Oh, that was horrible. I was knocked out from hitting my head on the windshield, and I don't know how long I was unconscious. Yeah, yeah, Peace. You've had a couple accidents. I'm just glad I'm glad you're alive. You should be fortunate you're at least alive, and I know you're having some difficulty right now, and I know some of the stories you're telling. I really just all I can say, I can just wish you the best. Is that somehow you take good care of yourself. Hey, just just know that yeah, we're thinking about you, and I'm sure yeah. What do you think? Oh, this Drewy, Droy. How do you think what we will do was what is permanent? How do you think what if you will do this if permanent? Okay, was permanent. Oh, you mean as far as like the amnesia? Oh, you mean just that having permanent amnesia? Sometimes you hear about people like that. They have permanent amnesia. They lost their memory and they never get it back. Or maybe it takes them months or even years. Eventually, I think bits of memory come back, but certain memory never comes back sometimes. So, okay. Yeah, but bottom line is people, yes, we back to basically like who we are. I mean, what unites us here on these channels is the fact that yeah, this YouTube is an incredible platform that we didn't even have 10 years ago, maybe even 15. It's fairly new, but a lot of the times, because there's so many niches, we can exclusively focus on even just personality types, Myers-Briggs personality type, indicator types, introverted, intuitive types. And we can really focus and narrow down certain niches that we can all find camaraderie in. We can just find connections in. And that's the beauty of these channels is that we find other like-minded people. And but what really got me ultimately, seriously, was the fact that there's so many people. When you think you're alone in the world, before you found before you found these platforms, you never met anybody quite like you because you're so rare. You know, I can count on my hand maybe how many people I've thought back in my mind, like, you know, how many INFJs I might have come in contact with. There's three or four. There's three or four. Although personally, I think my mom was an INFJ. My own mother, I believe, was too. I've told that story before. She's passed away now, but I think so many times some of the things she said, how sensitive she was very introverted and very spiritual. In fact, a lot of times I think I got a lot of my spirituality from her. But she was very in depth. Sometimes she just would go on speeches and she would talk, speak her mind. And yeah, she had a very intuitive way about her. I think she was. And so whether or not I had her influence, whether or not I got it from her DNA, whether or not it was passed from her DNA, or the fact that I had a basically a troubled early life. I have a triple whammy of why I turned out the way I did, you know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. Yeah, but we all find camaraderie here on these channels. Bottom line is we all find each other here, and that's the beauty of it, and that we have some kind of um, a community that we can have. And like I said, I mean, could we all stand each other if we were all in the same room? Say a bunch of introverted intuitives were in the same room. Wouldn't that be like kind of defying the whole thing? I mean, introverts like to be alone and things like that, and they get kind of drained by people. Would they drain each other? Or would they, or they offer some kind of like inspiration? I think a lot of times is because we crave that depth. A lot of times we crave deep connections with people, and we like to have deep conversations with people, and a lot of times that enlightens us, and that sometimes that's what sparks us. That's what gives us life. Well, now we're not completely introverted. I think we are, but a lot of times it's that surface level, that small talk. It's that surface level, like kind of blind thing that drains us a lot of times. But if we find people that we somehow have some kind of a relationship with, as far as like depth, like the way I'm talking now, if you had a conversation back and forth with INFJs and you got deep and you got philosophical and you got deeply spiritual and you talked about stuff we're talking about, a lot of times it perks you up. I know it does me. When you hear certain conversations that get deep into people's like psyche, then all of a sudden you don't feel like it's a draining conversation. I think that's the one times in our life that introverts kind of are charged by other people, but it's because of the depth that they offer and the depth that we have as who we are basically. Okay, so that I think is what that, but it's that's the connection we look for basically, right? Oh, that coffee's a perfect drinking temperature right there. Cooled off just right. Yeah. So I remember you sharing that about your mother. Yes, you do. Yeah, because yeah, you've heard some of my stories too. Okay, okay, Drew, Russia. I'm an INFJ A. Oh, Droy. Are you from Russia, Droy? Is that what you mean? Oh, wait. Okay, I know a lot of times you're communicating amongst yourselves here. We do definitely have some people from the other from other countries. Yeah, that is quite amazing. In the year 2025, 26, that we are able to have this kind of worldwide connection in this way. Now, people, if there's anybody new on this channel and you like the content, yeah, please subscribe to the channel. It is a growing channel, and I guess you hit that notification bell to let you know when I create new content. Oh, Droy, you're from Russia. Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, you're invited here. Okay. I'm glad to see you in the audience. I've never seen your name before, but I'm just, it's good to see you here. Yes. Okay. And, but yeah, but bottom line is, yeah, this channel is, it's all about basically reaching out, finding introverts and intuitives, just to let them know that their journey is not in vain. Okay, a lot of times we think we're all alone, even our journey. We can't figure it out. And those things I told you about, that whole initiation, that vapid night of the soul, dark night of the soul, it's that awakening is very painful. We think we're not even sure we're on the right path. We feel as though we're getting more depressed, more lost, more confused in our life. And no, but this is your growing pain. This is somehow your way of forging on, becoming stronger, more conscious. And a lot of times you have no choice but to keep going, forging forward until you find peace. You know, like I said, if you were in a monastery, if you were in a Catholic monastery, Buddhist monastery, wherever out in the Tibetan um, mountains, the Himalayan mountains, where they put these monasteries out there. Sometimes you see these monasteries that are built on side of mountains, and they put them in these remote areas so that these people can reflect inward, so that they can find this. And but the thing is too, I mean, you have to be encouraged that you're on the right path sometimes because you sometimes feel like you're dying inside. It's your ego dying, bottom line is. When you're forging forward on these paths and you feel like you're dying inside, you kind of are, but it's your ego. It's that pride. It's that part that needs validation. It's that part that needs to be praised and stroked, basically, your ego. That's what's dying, and that's what feels like it. So it feels like you're dying, and it is. It's that fallen side. It's our fallen, the side that we fell from grace over. It was that original sin that we had in the garden that basically put us into conflict with God. And that part of you was dying, and that's why it feels so painful. It's that part that, the only part that you knew, that fallen side, that fallen being that we inherited from the original sin, from Adam and Eve, that is dying within ourselves. And that's the pain that we're feeling. But a lot of times we feel like we're dying, like we're getting worse, we're getting more empty. But you are. And Jesus did say, you know, you never put fresh wine into old bottles. You have to put fresh new wine into new bottles, into the New Testament. That's kind of like what he meant, is that you have to be emptied before you can be refilled. And that's the process that's going on in your soul. And a lot of times that's what you need to know, is that that's the emptying process of that forging journey that you take. Okay? See, things are just coming to me. I don't know where this is coming from, people. Sometimes I didn't even know. I'm just kind of saying things as it just flows out. I don't even know where this is coming from, other than just it's. I'm in a I'm in a spot where I want to know that people understand this, and it's going to talk. It's going to reach somebody that just wants to find another level of consciousness. Okay, and I'd like to think, yeah, I mean, we're all looking for that. I know that. Us as introvert intuitives, our level of consciousness and our level of awareness is very deep, and it's very sensitive. And we're so hungry. We're hungry for some kind of connection, some kind of camaraderie. And a lot of times we find it every so often. We just want to know that we're on the right course. We just want to know somebody else is on this journey. We're not alone here. And sometimes it's just good to know somebody's been there. Somebody's at least saying, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough journey. It's painful, but you're on the right course. Just keep it up. Just persevere. Keep going. Okay. Just keep yourself healthy, please. I think I had a video about that. Is making sure you stay healthy. You keep eating right. You know, you don't get so depressed. You don't eat. You don't drink, or that you eat crappy food. You keep. Just make sure you stay healthy, because it can be taxing on your emotions, on you. But the thing is, I mean, you might be depleted a little bit in some ways, but you're being enriched in your soul in another way. And eventually you can rebound. But just be careful, okay, people? But you're on the right path, bottom line is, okay? Tom, well, thank you so much. Peace. That's why I'm here. That's why I like to be here, okay? And that's why I do these lives, because, like I said, this is proof. This is why I wanted to do this, because it's just so it's flowing. I want things to flow out of me. It's like that's all. Sometimes, like I said, I get too rehearsed on videos. I like my shorts. One thing, people, I want to tell you, I get a lot of. I know my short videos, the 3 minute ones. I like doing those, and they're getting more popular. I noticed they get more views. I got over 100 of them, and I try to cover different little things about INFJs and just about what we go through. Almost like, and it seems like they're very accurate. And because we have similar personalities, even though we have different backgrounds, we're aligned the same way. It's kind of like having a fleet of cars. Let's say you have one brand. You all have a Ford Mustang. Same, maybe it may not be the same year. It might be this is a 68, that's a 72, but it's all from the same manufacturer. It's a different color. Maybe it's got different suspension. Maybe it's customized a different way, but that engine pretty much it's all the same Ford engine. You know what I mean? Even though we all look different, we're built different, we have different genders, different backgrounds, different countries, different languages. I mean, we're from everywhere on earth, and we're all diverse in that way. But we think the same. We have that same alignment. And now, all you other INFTPs, INTJs, all you other mainly introverted intuitives, yeah, we have a little bit of a difference in our code sometimes. But that introverted intuitive mind, in a lot of ways, it's that's our main function, and that puts us into a lot of thinking. Okay, but sometimes but INFJs, yes, being that we're so rare too. Now they're only saying, gosh, two to 1% of the population. Whether or not that's totally accurate or not, it's just a rarity as well. And because we're so rare and hard to find, it's kind of like we tend to glom onto these channels here as well. Okay, definitely. Yeah, so like I said, if anybody's new to the channel, yeah, please subscribe to the channel. And all of a sudden, like I said, anybody who's interested, I'm trying to, I do have videos out there. Some of them they're kind of obscure. Some of them get watched, some do, some don't. Some of them do better than others. I've noticed some don't do as well. I wonder if it's me, or if I just wonder if they're not getting a lot of airtime or whatnot. But okay. So anyway, yes, people, yeah, that's the one thing that kind of holds us all together. That kind of gives us that camaraderie is the fact that we think alike, we think very similar, and all that thing. Okay, so but anyway, does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any concerns? Anybody have anything they want to add? Getting a little quiet out there, or anything? Okay, well that's okay. I'll yeah. But yeah, so that is the plight of us. That is who we are. That's our journey. And so, bottom line is, people were. It's almost like we have a temporary existence on this earth. I mean, it's amazing to think. I mean, our bodies. I mean, they're kind of they have their own time. I mean, we're trapped in these bodies. We have this consciousness. We have this soul that was put into this basically this flesh, this body that is just that has a time limit. It just has a certain age that it's going to get, and we all eventually pass on from this body. We all eventually go back somewhere, and of course, it makes you wonder. I mean, too. I mean, I know we were dead before we were born. We were dead once before we were born. We weren't. We didn't exist. We have no memory. We weren't anywhere. So we just have this brief moment that we enter this world. That something happens, some miracle happens where we're born. We have this fusion. We have this opportunity to live on this planet, this world, this galaxy, this universe, whatever you want to call it. And we're set up with a certain level of awarenesses that we have, and it's kind of like we're in a jungle in a sense, trying to survive. I mean, you're given a couple of like Survivor in a sense. They drop you on this island, and they give you like maybe a knife. They give you a Bowie knife. You get a spear. You get a rain jacket. Maybe you get a and you just get enough canteen to find out. It's up, but basically, our life is surviving, but it's not so much. Now we can live. I mean, we have a culture and a society that where we work hard for a living. We can make a living for ourselves, but that survival mode comes in our spirit. That survival mode is finding some kind of finding some kind of fortification in our soul and our spirit. And sometimes it takes a lot of our lifetime, it takes the wisdom in order for us to completely solidify our spirit and our soul and where we go in our journey and how we are. Yeah. So that's basically bottom line. Tom, if you ever became disabled, how would you deal with it? How do we deal with disability? Uh, yeah, well, it depends on the level of disability we're talking about, for one. I mean, if people are like paralyzed from the neck down, that's a certain ability that you almost need to have somebody take care of you. But I guess it depends on what your level is. I mean, some people adapt to their disabilities. You hear about people that lose their eyesight and somehow their other senses become more attuned, more acute. Their sense of hearing, their sense of smell, their sense of touch becomes way more acute because they lost one. So I guess it would depend on you what it is that your disability would be. Now you had somebody like Stephen Hawking's. Okay, here's a prime example. This just came to me. Now look at Stephen Hawking's. He had that ALS, and he had it at a. I mean, he finally passed away about 5 years ago, but he had basically his entire body became just he had he couldn't he had no nervous system. His nerves completely were gone. I mean, I don't think he could even swallow, and he had that voice recorder thing. He had that voice that he just spoke through a telecommunication kind of thing, and it had an artificial voice. But his mind, I mean, look at where he was. He had that deep, vast inner world in a sense. Whether or not he was an introvert, I would imagine he had a kind of a sense of introversion, maybe instinctively or just on his own. But his mind became vastly deep. He came up with these equations and theories and formulas about the universe. And his body was completely nothing. He couldn't even speak. He had to be fed through a tube. I mean, I don't know if he could even eat, or was he intravenously fed? Now, you bring this up, this question. I'm only answering it the best. Now, yes, he needed somebody physically taking care of him. He could not take care of him. He needed somebody putting him in a wheelchair. He needed so to be bathed. He needed to be, you know, fed in that way. But he was the longest living survivor of his disease. I mean, I don't think anybody ever lived with ALS. It was basically, wasn't it Lou Gehrig's disease? Usually it's fatal within the first 2 or 3 years you get it, like Lou Gehrig had it. But I think Stephen Hawking's lived with that for like 30 or 40 years. But how did he survive? His, I guess, like I just said, when you lose one ability, when you lose one thing, you usually you develop something to compensate for it. You lose your sight, your other senses become that much more acute. He lost all of his physical uh, attributes. I mean, I think he could hear and see, but I don't even think he could move his eyeballs. He was like completely a vegetable. But his mind, he came up with these equations that were deep as Einstein's were. So he became so that acuteness, whether or not he was geared that way, intelligent that way already, and it just became fine tuned because that's all he had. His mind became that deep, and he came up with these brilliant equations that were mind blowing, and the way Einstein did. So I hope that, like not not to be able to walk. Yes, Stephen Hawking's. Yes, I mean I'm just using an extreme case. So he had to persevere. But no, I mean at that point there, he literally needed a caregiver taking care of his body, but his mind became incredibly vast in the where it went. So he still had that. That was the one bastion that you could not have conquered from him. Now, was he spiritual? Did he believe in God? I don't know what his spiritual level was. I don't know what his beliefs were. I just know that he was one of the greatest like theorists, astro theorists, whatever it was that whatever title you want to call him. You know, kind of like Sheldon from Big Bang. That was just like his big idol. Remember that? I know I'm kind of quoting a TV show. He was yeah, basically somebody that's incredibly smart and able to see like string theory and things like that, and understand like quantum physics and deep physics. Now, I think we all have I think as introverted intuitives, especially INTJs, INTPs, that's another thing you steered into, Peace in the Valley. We have a we have a mind that seems to be geared in that way. Whether or not he was an introvert anyway, I don't know. But a lot of times, I think we're geared that way. But what? How do you cope? I think you have no choice but to use your other attributes, and find the best things you can. Now, if you need to survive in such a way, whatever your best attribute you had. Now, I know you asked this piece because you're having a lot of neck issues, and you've talked about it. Your injuries, your car accidents have definitely made you a little more disabled. I get that. You have to you have to find your attributes. If your attributes are that you have a great inspirational presence about you, and maybe you could inspire others to find their other acutenesses in their character. If you've got one, you lack in one area, you have to make up for it in your strength within your heart, within who you are as your character, and go from there, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it will just develop. But you have to, bottom line is, Peace. I think a lot of times is we can't be defeated. A lot of times, like I said, our own mind, and especially as INFJs, a lot of times our own mind can be our own biggest critic. And you know that we have a tendency to get into depression. We can start convincing ourselves that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough. Where a lot of times we depress ourselves, and a lot of times we got to get out of that mind that's defeating us, and we have a tendency to go there. See, that's one thing that the INFJ has. We have great, amazing foreseeing things for the world. We can speak and everything, but when it comes to ourselves, when it comes to our own mind and our own well-being and our own care, we tend to sabotage ourselves. Our own mind becomes our own biggest villain. And a lot of times it's about conquering that mind. It's really about getting control of that and not allowing these things in our mind to permeate. A lot of times, like I said, I've said this before, is being meditative. Practice your meditation. You need to get out of that constant swirl of your thoughts. Somehow you have this whirlpool of thoughts that's in their mind. You have to separate it. It's like you almost like have to get out of the storm and find a shelter in a house where you're looking out the window. You can see the raging of the swirl, but you're not affected by it. You're in a warm house. You're in your own consciousness. You're in that eye of the storm, and you're watching these thoughts. You're hearing them trying to pull you in. They're going to suck you in and try to make you believe what you're saying. But somehow you have to practice your mind. You have to meditate. Find a way of just not ignoring your mind, ignoring these negative, toxic thoughts that you want to get pulled into, that we have a tendency to drift into. And a lot of times that's what our downside is. I mean, you have to get out of these toxicness. And you have to kind of it takes practice. It takes a regular steady practice, and as you meditate, as you find your center, your stillness, your calm stillness, that eye of the storm, as you meditate and find that and get out of your thoughts and ignore them, it becomes a practice. It becomes a regular everyday practice where these things, you got to stay out of the swirl of your thoughts. You got to stay separate. Your mind has to be almost like you have to train your mind not to be this one big swirling mass of thoughts, but to have a consciousness, a center, a stillness, and that electric storm is separate. It's outside of you, and you're watching it. Now, I think a lot of times that's our whole collective consciousness. That's our senses. That's our input in from the world. That's our senses drinking things in. It's everything that we've had inputted into our mind through our life. And a lot of times it's just our memories, our swirl of them. Now, we have to find that steady consciousness within ourselves, that stillness that we said. And that bottom line is you've got to ignore that negative, toxic mind that's trying to poison you, trying to tell you you're not good enough. And we have that. And trust me, as INFJs, This is one of our big drawbacks, is our own mind. It never stops. It never stops functioning. It never stops churning. So it's up to us to gain control of that, just to find some kind of solace by basically ignoring it, being separate from it. I hope that helped. Peace. I hope that's helped. Okay. You do think INFJ's a beautiful thing? Do you think INFJs like beautiful things? Then more than you think of. Then more you think, then more anxious. Okay. Okay. Do I think INFJs like beautiful things? Well, of course. I think everybody likes beautiful things. I think we like to. I think we also have to be practical. Yeah, the world is beautiful. The world can be beautiful and intoxicating, and this we have a mixture of both. But there can be things we have to just face reality too. I mean, we can't always see. We see beautiful things, but at the same time, we have to know that in order to see the beautiful things, we have to acknowledge the things that aren't. You see, but okay. Well, thanks. That helped a little bit. Okay. Well, I hope so. I hope so. I mean, that was just me talking off the cuff. Um, I'm glad that's what I'm here. That's why we're here. We're here to try to answer questions. We try to enrich our lives a little bit and things like that. All right. So, but Droll, as far as that, you know, INFJs like to create beautiful things. Yes, we do, and a lot of times too is you know, our attributes is a lot of times it's just like how you have different types, sensing types, physical types, the ENTPs, ESTPs. They're the complete opposite. They're the physical types. They're very sensing. They're right in the moment, in the now. They're the physical types. So they're usually the strong types. It's all about they're very in touch with their physicality, their body, and what's around them. And they live from the outside in, and they take their senses. So that's the way they live. But they're geared that way. They're geared that way. And usually, I mean, what they have in physical strength, what they have in physicality, what they have in like certain dominance. I mean, a lot of times they're the alpha types, depending on who they are. They make good football players, rugby players, because they're very spontaneous, right on the spot. Hockey players, a lot of them are your athletes because they're physical. And in order to play a team sport, a physical sport, what do you need? You need that spontaneous, right in the now physicality. So ESTPs are those great athletes, and usually they're right there, and they're making those decisions in the spontaneity of the moment. While all INFJs were completely opposite. We're in our head. We're introverted. We're intuitive when we plan things out and we see into the future. But our magnificent attribute is not being into that physical world, lifting heavy things, maybe playing, maybe tackling somebody before they get a touchdown by pushing them out of the end zone, whatever it is, blocking that kick, blocking that goal, whatever it is. I mean, that's the ESTPs. They have that presence about them. Okay. Our presence is that what they have in physicality, we have in like a mental capacity, we have in that cerebralness. Our it's in our speech, and this is one of the reasons why INFJs are so like really good with our speech, our dialect, and why we're so in tune with it. Yeah, I was going to get into that and do a video on that, and I'm going to do this right now. Okay, a lot of times this is our greatest strength is our presence, our creativity, our way of painting a tapestry of something beautiful. Is a lot of it is in how we are at our speech. It's how we paint the scenery within our imagination, because that's where we're from. But a lot of times our greatest attribute is in how we, like I said, paint that tapestry. Now, the reason that the INFJ, no matter where you're from, whatever language you're from, whether you speak English, whether you speak Japanese, Chinese, Russian for that matter, wherever you're from, people, we're INFJs everywhere. But somehow we master our dialect, just our speech patterns, because we're excellent listeners, for one. We hear things. We go through life hearing our language. And a lot of times as kids, I remember doing this as a kid. I remember hearing a lot of like multi-syllable words, like just four-syllable words. And a lot of times I didn't understand early on because they were big words. You tended to look them up. Or if you heard them long enough and what contents they were put into with the sentence and what was being described, you figured them out. Okay? In a lot of ways, we were such great listeners and great absorbers of the language that we had. And we learned to communicate just by hearing it, how it was spoken, how it was said. We absorbed it, and we were able to reverberate it in our own way. So we developed an excellent source of vocabulary, vernacular, analogies, metaphors, a way of speaking that was like our masterful. I think that's one thing. I mean, I'm just talking off the cuff here, people, but this is one of our greatest attributes. Now, another thing, it's because of the way we're built. Not only are we just introverted, intuitive, we're great listeners, but the fact that we are extroverted feelers, the fact that we want to reach out, we need that deeper connection. What better way of having a deeper connection into who we are is the fact that of our language, of the way we are descriptive and what we are. That's the one fundamental bond we have as we are connecting with our extroverted feeling is our communication, our language. So we want our language to be decisive, clear, and direct, and it has to in that way in order to convey it, in order to for it to be understood. And we do it in such a way that is the way we do that. So we're built that way. But that's basically our great one of our greatest strengths. Just as you have certain other strengths in people that are great with their hands, they have some people are great motor skills. They're great physically because they're extroverted. They have senses, and they're great, like I said, tinkering things. I mean, they put their mind together. They're good with their hands, developing. They can create. They're good with artistry, maybe good with their hands in such a way where they're just good with crafting. Now, INFJs can be like that. I suppose we can train that way, translate what our mind is thinking into that. But our greatest strength we have is a lot of it is it's that communication. And I think I was meaning to say that. Now, that just came to me. This is just how I understand it. If an INFJ has a masterful way of communicating, why is that? And I just think that's basically what it is because we are extroverted feelers first, and communication is the number one way of connecting. The first fundamental way of connecting with others is speech, is our speech and our language. So we want to make sure we're gifted that way. Okay, I think I said enough. Let's see. Yes, I agree. Let's see. INFJs like to create beautiful things. Agreed. Like bullying INFJ. ESTP like bullying INFJs. Uh, they can. Yeah, a lot of times they're kind of the big. I've encountered this certain. I've always said who are the ESTP types? Yeah, they're usually the boisterous types. They're big. They're usually stronger. Yeah, they're kind of they're just yeah, they're usually they used to do that. I noticed that when I was younger. One thing I think ESTPs, and you'll notice that one thing, Troy, is that over the course of your life, I just know from my own standpoint, I think a lot of times, depending on who we always develop a certain level of protection. A lot of times, that's why we get those stares, and we're able to stare right into somebody. We have ways of warding people off, and usually it's not in our physicality. A lot of it's psychological. It's our stoicism. The old saying is, you have to be careful of the quiet ones. There's a saying that usually when somebody's quiet and stoic and they aren't boisterous and just strutting around, they're quiet, they're reserved. Those are the ones that are the most intimidating, and that's the INFJ. Just instinctively, I think we develop our own set of defenses from the ESTP types, and usually it's psychological. We might have a certain physical presence, but a lot of times I think I've especially developed it. I had to live on the streets as a kid. I had a rough neighborhood. I do a night job. I have to have a certain presence about me. And I know I have a certain man look about me anyway that's very unapproachable. Okay. And I have to keep that. And a lot of times I think it's that because they're so physical, because they see and they sense, they see this, they see somebody just, doing their own thing, quiet, looking. It makes them think twice when you just give them a piercing stare. That's all it takes a lot of times. It becomes psychological, Droy, is how we handle them. Now, okay, and maybe they might ignore that, and it might come down to them going after you anyway if they're drunk enough, because sometimes they get in, they might come at you. Then I guess it's a matter of either having a good way of, you know, maybe you got a 44 Magnum in your back pocket that they don't know about either. I mean, but you have to have a certain like uneasiness. Like, well, I mean, he might be packing heat under that jacket. Sometimes there's subtle ways of just kind of reaching inside your coat, just kind of, as if you're feeling your heart. They don't know if you're having access to a gun in there. They don't know what you got. There's little subtle ways of just throwing hints out there psychologically that you could be packing heat. Maybe you are packing heat. So I've noticed lately in my life, though, the older I get, the more people will you can do it psychologically. Okay, I think yes, Troy, I agree. Yeah. Okay, Tom, as an INFJ, do you ever feel like you intimidate others and notice how they treat us? It's horrible, horrible. Um, well, I don't drink. It's I have a couple of beers on the weekend. I don't like getting drunk, Troy. I don't like to get drunk or excess in alcohol. I do like a couple beers on the weekend. I told you, go to a pub. I got a favorite Mexican restaurant I go to, and I just get good vibes there. It's a bar. I'll hang out for a bit, have a couple beers. Maybe I'll have a burger. I just get good vibes there. So I have to get out sometime. I have to socialize, and I'd like going to a pub. It's not that rough a pub, although sometimes I don't have a problem walking into a rough pub either. I think I've developed a certain fearlessness about who I am. To answer your question, do I feel like you ever intimidate others? Absolutely. I mean, I can take it. I can bring it. In fact, I have a natural. If you notice, I have a certain look about me. That's just the way I am. I think God made me have a very. Um, I mean, I kind of recognize it. I look in the mirror and I know what my eyes do. I know what my face looks like. I know what it is. And I know I can bring that, and I think I can intimidate people very easily. But at the same time, I just know it's all an exterior. You know, hey, there are certain animals. Again, go back to nature. There are many animals that use decoys. How about those? How about those bugs that look like leaves and they just blend on a leaf on a tree? They try to stay invisible. They just perch on a branch, but their body they look like a leaf. And if you look close enough, that's all they are. And if they stay still enough, they, whatever, like bird, the predator will just think it's just a leaf. So they blend in. And then you got these other ones how about these frogs in the Amazon rainforest? These brightly colored frogs. They're overtly bright, like these bright incandescent oranges or these blues. And they're really vivid colors. And they got certain spots. And these are warning signs to other animals. Don't eat this. This is poison. I mean, it's a blatant, hey, I'm poison. I'm toxic. And you stay away from it for that reason too. See, if you think about it, I said, I go back to nature and I compare myself, like we can compare ourselves to different animals in nature. And then, of course, you have certain animals like they have eyes in the back of their wings. Those certain butterflies or moths, they have those nice, brilliant, beautiful colors, and some have those owl eyes on the back of their wings. And yet, meanwhile, a moth it's docile. It's probably an easy lunch. And there ain't much to it. There's no defense there. but it has these eyes that are wide apart on the tips of their wings, so it looks like a bigger predator, like eyes staring at this predator, just watching. What happens? The predator says, "No, I'm not going near that thing. That thing's watching me." And all of that, they're decoys. So, a lot of times, our self-defense is decoy in a way. Now, you didn't hear that from me. It could be. A lot of times, that's what I mean. This is psychological defense that we have. I mean, it doesn't always have to be in how big and strong you are and how much you can fight and how much karate you know. A lot of times it is, it's psychological. It's in how you present yourself. And it's all in that stoicism and that stare you have and just your a lot of times you're you're not fearful. You got to have a certain fearlessness about you. That's another thing. People pick up on fear, just like in nature. Predators immediately sense fear, and being that we're empaths, and I think everybody has a certain level of empathy. I think we're just more acute to it. We have a heightened level of empathy. We sense fear, but I think people sense fear in also by sense it by literally seeing it. If you have a worried look in your eye, if you're walking around and you're shifty eyed and you're kind of nervous looking, people pick up on this. Anybody can do that. You're walking down the street, you look nervous, and it shows. And people are going to see that vulnerability. They're going to be more apt to want to mess with you, maybe confront you. So a lot of times you have to have a certain fearlessness about you. It's all internal. It's fortitude, and the stronger you get, the more you get your consciousness the awakens too. You'll be less fearful now because your life. It just because you just enter a certain level. I mean, your spirit changes, your energy changes, and your fearlessness gets is changes as well. It's just on how you present things. See, I guess these are the things I've learned over the course of my lifetime. So, okay, yeah, I don't drink either. I I don't click with alcoholics. It seems somehow I attract the wrong people. Yeah, I guess we can do that sometimes from time to time. Definitely. Okay. So, yeah, yep, it's poisonous. So I have 6 people watching. I've had about 5 or 6. I'm glad everybody's still here. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but that's what I think it is. I mean, a lot of it's I think with the NFJ, I've noticed that instinctively my defense has become psychological. It's just in how I present myself, and yeah, it's the way I look. It's the stare. I mean, you want to hear a story one time. Now I work at night, okay, and I work in a big city. I'm in New Hampshire. I work in a big city at night sometime, and I deliver fuel. Well, about 2 years ago, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in Manchester, and I'm at a fuel station. Okay, here's a story for you, piece. Okay, or whoever's listening. I was at a fuel station fueling up my fuel truck. I had to fill it up, and I think I walked away. I parked my truck. I was walking back for some paperwork. Now I saw this guy. He had a push broom over his shoulder. And I thought, does he work here? Is he going to sweep up a spill or something? I thought he worked there. And he started like looking at me and he was walking toward me. And I was walking back toward the station. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to ask me a question like, hey, have you seen a spill here? I thought he was working there, like I said. And as he got closer, he looked a little wired a bit. And then he got close and he said to me, he was probably about 6 feet away. And then I saw he looked a little wired. His eyes were dilated. And he said to me, you got a cigarette? And he had that kind of nervousness about him, like he was jonesing a cigarette. And I just went, no, I don't smoke. And I gave him that look. And he looked like he saw a ghost. He just like, he couldn't get out of there fast enough. This guy looked like, oh my God, he scrambled. And I said, what did I do? What I just did is what I did to him. I gave him that, no, I don't smoke. I gave him that stare. Because we got that stare about it. And then he was gone. I thought he's got this thing. Is he going to swing that? I mean, was he going to swing the broom at me? I don't know. That's all I did. But it was enough just to he swear you think he saw a ghost. Oh, I lost some people. I hope I didn't scare anybody. I lost a couple viewers. Please come back. I'm sorry, people. Well, anyway, no, I did do that. I did do that. But you want to talk about, do I intimidate? I don't like to do that. Believe me, I'm a peaceful guy. I do. I have a way, but I do know that there has to be a certain way that we defend ourselves. And I think INFJs, when we're known as being intimidating, very intimidating, and I think it's just in our nature. And I think we all have a way about us. It's our presence, it's our stoicism, our eyes, our stare. We have so many things that can do that and bring it, And yeah, so anyway, that was a story. That's the last time that happened, and then it dawned on me. And I really don't smoke. I didn't have a cigarette, but it was just the fact he got so close to me, and I don't like people approaching me at night. I'm kind of like that. Even if I'm fueling in trucks and I'm in the middle, I hear somebody shuffling. I'm like, I tell him, I says, guy, don't walk up on the guy fueling trucks at 2 in the morning here, or 11:30 in the morning in a yard, So, but anyway, that's what I think we have. And but I've noticed the older I get, the less people messed with me. Is when early on in my life, but I think a lot of it has to do with that fear. Droy, it's a lot of in how in your energy that you project out. Being that we're empathic, we are empaths, and we absorb energies, we take them in, we process them. There's ways of using your empathy. When you know you have it, you can fine tune your empathy to the point where you don't absorb energies anymore. You don't absorb emotions. What you do at this point here is you start to actually deflect them, or you detect them. Excuse me. You can feel them. When you start realizing you have empathy, you can feel them, and you understand that. Oh my gosh! You walk into a room, and if something changes, if all of a sudden you have a certain feeling in you, like you feel fear or you feel anger, if you know it wasn't your thought, if it just entered you, or if like a wave, you can distinguish that it isn't yours. There's ways of being wise with your empathy, and that right away you can know somebody's throwing that off, but you don't have to absorb them. And as we get older and wiser as INFJs, and instead of letting these things affect our whole life by absorbing them, thinking they're ours, when we're aware of this ability, we can actually use these to our advantage in a lot of ways. And we can fine tune our empathy. But not only do we absorb energy, not only do we take in and feel energy, and absorb emotions, detect them, we project it out. And I've noticed that. We can project out what's in us. So if we're calm in our heart, if you walk into a room, and this is what I've had a video based on this one time, is that when we can have an ability to, let's say, walk into a room, and our energy will, if we're calm, if we're in a good frame of mind and we're calm, we're still, a room that's quiet and like boisterous might calm down and get quieter because of you, because you're projecting out your stoic nature. I do this all the time. Sometimes I go into a room that's like that, chaotic a little bit, and it gets quieter. Now it doesn't always happen. I mean, but for the most part, we're able to project out our energies as well. Okay, but this is how you develop your empathy. This is how you fine tune it and understand it and master your empathy. And we're meant to find this out. As INFJs, we are meant to fine tune our attributes, and we're meant to be the master of our attributes. And empathy is one of them. So, so sometimes toxic ones and bitter ones they may just go away. I've seen people that have been kind of the boisterous ones or the toxic ones. When I get around, if I'm just stoic and quiet, I notice that they drift away. Sometimes toxic people drift from you. They look like they get uneasy, nervous, and then they might just leave because you're around. Okay, so, oh, we have less tolerance for others and just blurt things out. Sometimes I've noticed. I noticed I don't keep things in. If I need to say something, I do too. This is our magic. Yes, yes, we mirror emotions. Yes, yeah, but yeah, we can start fine tuning these things as well. I no doubt. Okay, so how long have I been doing this? Oh my gosh, what time is it? It is 1 o'clock already. My gosh, what I've been doing this almost 3 hours? Oh my gosh, I lost track of time, people. Oh my gosh. Oh, people, I'm going to have to be wrapping this up pretty soon, only because of constraints of time. I tell you though, but I do enjoy doing these live broadcasts. Though I really think that this is a good way of connecting and things like that. And I'm glad you're out there, peace. I want you to take good care of yourself. And Droy, if you are if you're new out there, welcome. I notice you're making comments. You're definitely out there. There's two other people out there watching. All right. And so we got four watching. There was more. And I think, yeah, we got four, though. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, we all INFJs lose track of time. We need clocks. I do have a clock here. How has it been that long? Why my head is bubbling? Oh, yeah. Oh, hello there, Sarah. Oh, hi, Sarah. Hi. I've seen I've actually seen some of your texts. You've commented on a few of my videos. I see out there. Yes, I do recognize you. How are you? Yes. Yeah, I've been doing this for a few hours now. I get so wrapped up with time. I think it's because yeah, I'm talking. I think, like I said, people, I feel like I need practice. I feel like sometimes this is my only vent. I've actually noticed I'm getting better. When I first started this 6 months ago, I can speak okay. I mean, naturally, but I was so out of practice. There were words I was mispronouncing. I felt like I was slurring things, like I wasn't, because I don't talk a lot. And I think the most talking I do is when I get in, like, I record a video or go on a live, if you can believe it. And outside of this group right here, I'm very quiet, well, most of the time, if you can believe it. Okay, yeah, I lose track of time too. Time definitely flies, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Absolutely. Yes. Well, I definitely hope people have enjoyed this. Is anybody new out there that's new to the channel? Now, Droy, is this your first time seeing the INFJ Experience? That is the name of this, because this is our experience. INFJs don't live. We do live, of course, but we experience life. We have an experience here, and that's why I called it that. That's why we experience life first. You know what I mean? Definitely. So, but yeah, I'm gonna now just to let you know, whoever's out there, I'm gonna do a few more lives in the near future. I might do them. I might do a few more. I did one yesterday. I might even do one tomorrow. I very well might do another one if I have time and things like that, because I really want this channel to. I want the channel to grow on stream. I guess yes. Oh, okay, on stream. Yes. All right. Now, Droid, do you speak fluent English, or you? It looks like you're typing English, or are you? I would imagine. I know English is a second language for the worldwide. I would imagine you must have that as a second language. I would imagine, and yeah. But Russia, big. That's a big country over there. That's for sure. Very big. Okay. All right. So yeah, we had a good time here. We definitely did. Oh, it's time for me to give my bobblehead a rest. Oh, okay. All right. All right, Peace. Well, Peace, I'm glad you showed up. I'm glad you showed up. Take good care of yourself, please, okay? Now, like I said, try to find some good positivity in your heart, would you please? Yeah. Find something positive. And like I said, look for your strengths within your attributes, all right? Whatever it is you think you lack, you should be able to find that balance. Okay, and like I said, you might be a great inspiration to somebody somewhere. All right, you really can be. Okay, that's what I try to do every day. That's why I show up here. I'm trying to hope that I can inspire. I think this is my way of having some kind of a purpose, people. I mean, I feel like I need to have a purpose. Okay, thank you, Tom. I'm trying. Yes, please. I hope that's. I hope you feel better. Okay, English. It's translated in my brain. Okay, Droy. Okay, cool. All right, awesome, awesome. All right. Yeah. Well, if it wasn't the fact that has it been 2 hours and 12 minutes? I think I've been over. It's been over 2 hours since I've started this, and I tell you, sometimes time flies by so fast I don't even realize how much time has gone by. Well, I said a lot, people. I really did. I hope I didn't say too much. I hope you enjoyed everything we're talking about. Okay. All right, people. I need to sign off only because I gotta do a few things around the house. Okay. But I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, people. You warm my heart with your comments. Just knowing you're out there. You do. You brighten my day. Just knowing you're out there, and we all have each other. We have this channel as a community, and it's something we need to do. Something we need as INFJs. Okay, so please support the channel. Yeah, just watch my videos. Just know that we're all out there for each other, and I'm going to do this again. Um, at some point, I can announce a certain time. I mean, I could actually do a like maybe I know this was a little bit early. I mean, I could do at least a set time every week, like on a Saturday or Sunday at a certain time. And I know we all have different time zones that we're in. I mean, weekends are my most, the times I can relax the most. I don't work on the weekends. But I would have one. I would like to have one maybe like Saturday nights, maybe 6 p.m. or something like that. But as it goes right now, I'm going to randomly. I'm going to do these at times when I can just find different audiences at different times and different days during the week right now, because I'm trying to find different audiences as well. And but as things go on, I'll find some different time frames, and I will put it in the post at some point. And some of you people read my post and things. Okay, all right, people. Thank you so much for attending the INFJ Experience Live. I appreciate you being there, and people, I love you with the bottom of my heart. From the bottom of my heart is what I should say. I got to pronounce that better, okay? And until next time, people, thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day. All right? Thank you again.